Good morning, I'm Pat Kiernan. This is Pat's Papers, our morning look at what's in the nation's newspapers. We've been looking through the headlines, and here's what we found for you today. At the Grammy Awards last night, a musically diverse list of winners. Robert Plant, Alison Krauss, Coldplay, and Lil Wayne were the big winners. Although the LA Times says there were a lot of whispers competing with the music, most notably the arrest of scheduled performer Chris Brown. He was up for 2 awards, but instead turned himself into the LAPD after accusations he had beaten a woman. The New York Daily News says the woman in question was in fact his superstar girlfriend Rihanna. Police would not confirm that report. A hospital security guard says he spotted her being taken in for treatment. Her publicist says something about a traffic mishap. The LA Times has some solid reporting this morning out of Australia, the area where major bushfires have claimed the lives of at least 128. It's been declared a crime scene after evidence found many of the fires may have been deliberately lit. Australian Prime Minister Kevin Rudd calls it mass murder. Another article in the Times brings the fire story home to California. It is known in Australia as the stay or go fire policy, something California is considering. Residents in Australia are taught to either leave early if there's a fire or commit to stay and fight the fire and ride it out. Australia adopted the stay or go approach after fires in 1983 that killed 83 people and injured 2,600. Researchers found after those fires the most frequent cause of death was people being trapped in their cars trying to flee. They determined that properly trained homeowners would be at less risk if they stayed off the roads and took shelter. Pilot turned celebrity and national icon Chesley Sullenberger told his story last night on 60 Minutes. USA Today has coverage of the CBS interview with the captain who ditched his plane in the Hudson River. Despite saving everybody on board, he told Katie Couric, "One of the hardest things for me to do in the whole experience was to forgive myself for not having done something else, something better, something more complete," he said. From the Washington Post, 3 articles on the bailout and the economic stimulus plan, sure to be the hot political story again. The paper leads with the reports that senior Obama administration officials are seeking to intensify pressure on Congress to pass the stimulus package. Down the page, worries that the stimulus plan could end up wasting billions by attempting to spend money faster than an overburdened government acquisition system can manage to oversee it. The government would be asked to spend more money more rapidly than ever before. And the Post says Republican leaders are increasingly confident that the stimulus package will pay off politically for those who oppose it. According to the Boston Herald, some would-be philanderers may be too cheap to cheat. The paper's front-page story says calls to tail suspected adulterers are down as much as 50% from this time last year. One frustrated Massachusetts private eye says the hanky-panky business could use its own stimulus package. Another has his own catchphrase for the lull. He says it's cheaper to keep her. Jennifer Figg's dream has come true. The Miami Herald has the story of the 56-year-old woman's successful swim across the Atlantic Ocean. Figg says she has dreamed of swimming the ocean since a 1960s stormy transatlantic flight she was on, which got her thinking about what she'd do if the plane went down. She thought she could swim the remainder of the journey. Her historic journey ended in Trinidad 4 weeks after it started. New York Yankees third baseman Alex Rodriguez became the latest athlete to find himself in the midst of a drug scandal this weekend. The New York Post front page says A-Rod is digging himself into a hole for testing positive for steroids during the 2003 drug test. Sports Illustrated broke the story on Saturday. New York Daily News baseball writer Bill Madden says the Yankees ought to just fire A-Rod, even though that might mean forfeiting a $270 million contract. Madden says the Yankees will be applauded for it, not just for the Yankee brand, but for baseball as a whole. On page 1 of the New York Times, holes in the food safety net revealed by the tainted peanut story. One example, an obvious problem that should have been fixed. The peanut plant in question leaked when it rained, and little was done about it, even though moisture is known to help salmonella thrive. From Kansas City, the story of a mandolin that nobody ever played. Jody Kennedy says the instrument had been in her family for years. It sat as an ornament next to a fireplace. She took the unplayed instrument in for repairs and was told it's worth $165,000. Finally today, the man behind the turnaround in Iraq. The Washington Post with the fascinating piece Inside the World of General David Petraeus. The piece examines Petraeus' past with the Bush administration and his future within the Obama administration. For his strategy on Iraq, the Post says Petraeus had to deal with both military and political factors, and the story says he proved to be a master on all fronts. And that's our report for today. I'm Pat Kiernan. Thanks for being with us today. We do this every weekday, and you can always go to patspapers.com where you will find the rundown of the stories we featured today and links you can click on to get to the individual newspapers where those stories were published.